From Unity Church of Christianity in Houston, Texas, this is The Awakened Life with Reverend Howard Caesar. Unity is a non-denominational Christian church providing a positive, practical, and progressive approach to Christianity. Let's join the service in progress with the Reverend Howard Caesar.
This is a story about a young pastor who was about to conduct his first wedding ceremony. He just had gotten out into the field and he was really worried, sick. He was really nervous. This was his first thing. And so he went to the elderly senior pastor and asked for some advice. And he said, well, if you use your place in the service book or just, kind of forget your lines, then just start quoting scriptures that come to mind until you find your way back. And so the wedding day came, and he was doing the service, and sure enough, he forgot where he was in the ritual, and all of a sudden, unfortunately, the only verse that popped up for him was, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." These things can happen to young pastors, you see. So today we enter into part 2 of a series on healthy relationships. And actually this will not be the final. We'll be going on to part 3, okay? There's so much that is rich and meaningful in relationships. And it's an important topic, really, because all your life is relationships. It's all your life is. And the quality of your life really is the quality of your relationships. The quality of your relationships is the quality of your life. Just think about it. That's absolutely true. And so everywhere we turn, we're in relationship, and relationships are what we are. And what would we be without our relationships? Really, what would our life be like? They're all around us. You can't get away from them. Everywhere you go, there you are in relationship with someone or something, or with yourself, or with nature, or with God. Every moment, really, you are in relationship. And, we've all been at the place, I think, where we can agree that physical health is something that we value, that's important, and that life is no fun when we're sick or in pain or hurting physically. And so it's understandable that people value and place a value on physical health and well-being, and it makes, therefore, good sense to take good care of your physical body and do whatever is necessary to relieve pain and do away with pain and keep from physically hurting and all that. It's our body temple. And so just as people value physical health, it's very important to realize and place a high value on relationships, because they are all around us all the time. They determine the quality of our life. They play a significant role as well in our spiritual unfoldment and our spiritual evolution. You must realize and understand that as your relationships progress and mature and deepen, so does your soul evolution really grow and extend and broaden. And so you are your relationships. And as you go, so your relationships go. And as you grow, so your relationships grow. And, we're all a spiritual being having a human experience. And our most important relationship is our relationship with God. And we would say, okay, and where is God? Well, we're not separate from God. God is not far off, distant, removed from us, off in the heavens somewhere. We have taught, and it's very, very important that you grasp the idea that God is with us, always with us, in numerous ways as well. God is all around us as a presence. God's presence is here right now, this moment. And all you need to do is click into the realization, and you can feel the life energy even step up a notch with the realization and the thought. God is in all life. God is in all creation. And so we are in relationship with God all the time. We're in relationship with God when we're in nature. Love nature, whether it's hearing a bird sing or seeing animals or butterflies or flowers or walking through a forest or around mountains and waterfalls. And it's all God, and that life of God is in all creation. And so through our relationship actually with nature, we are in relationship with God, right? And so it is God all around us in these things. And it's easy to have a good relationship with nature, because it accepts us for who we are. It doesn't talk back. It doesn't demand anything of us. It's sort of like our pets. They're there and they kind of love us and they're easy to get along with. And so nature is really kind of like, there's a sacredness there, and we're all drawn to it. And God is not only nature, of course, much more than that. God is in you and me. God dwells in you and me, in everyone, okay? And so all of creation and each and every person who you're seated with here today has God in them at the very core, at the very essence of them. The spark of the divine is there for everyone. No matter how hidden it may be at times, God dwells within. May have been covered over a bit for various reasons, which we've talked about before, and it's finding its way to the surface again. But it's always there at the core. We are all creations of God, and we are, as a physical body, the temple of the living God. God lives within us. And so there's something sacred about each and every person that you encounter, no matter where they may be in their particular unfoldment and awakening or not. And so through our relationships with everyone, we are in relationship with God. And that's something that we should not ever overlook. And we must then learn to look for, to behold, and to see that sacredness in all people, and that God dwells within them, whether they're showing up in a godly way or in some other way. And so I know that that's very difficult for us to do on a regular basis, to see God in everyone. And it usually is difficult until we continue to evolve to a place where we deepen and heal our relationship with ourselves. Everything hinges there, really. And how we are in relationships with others is always a reflection of how we are in our relationship with ourselves. And so when we speak of healthy relationships, really, our relationship with others is going to be only as healthy as our relationship is with ourselves. And so if our relationships are not healthy out there in the world, then there's maybe some things that are unhealthy that are going on within ourselves. We always teach the principle is as within, so without. And so whatever is going on within here, I'm reflecting out there on the plane of my life. It's a mirror, as we say. And so if I can't honestly accept myself for who I am, then I'm not going to be very accepting of others. And if I'm internally, always judging and criticizing myself, then I'm probably going to be doing a good bit of that with the relationships that I have around me. My mind's always going to be taking me to something that I see that I want to judge about another or criticize, because I kind of have that dialogue going on within myself, you see. And if I can't forgive myself, then I'm not likely to be a very good forgiver of others either. And if I can't love myself unconditionally with all the warts and flaws and weaknesses, then I won't be able to love others unconditionally and look past some of those flaws and weaknesses as well. If I have a lot of conflict going on inside of me that I haven't resolved in my mind and heart, then that's going to show up as well, because we're always in a process of really healing. Every relationship in our life is important. And most important, as we say, is our relationship with God. And the best relationship that we could ever imagine, just stop and think, what would that look like? How would you describe that? The best relationship you could ever imagine, okay? It would probably be one in which we were instantly and always forgiven for our mistakes and our errors, because we're going to mess up some along the way. It would be one, of course, where we were loved unconditionally in every moment, We didn't have to worry about love going away. All right? It would be one in which we didn't feel like we were ever really judged. We would just be loved through whatever was happening in our world and in our life. It would be one in which we just felt total and complete acceptance. And you may have some other things that you would think that you would throw in there and add, but all of that I just described, that's God. That's God. That's what God is being to you, you see. Now, unfortunately, many have been taught erroneous concepts and ideas and beliefs about God. That God judges, that God is to be feared, or that God punishes, and that therefore God withdraws love. All these concepts are projected onto God that are sometimes the result of projecting onto God the image of an angry, disciplining parent, because that's what we experienced. But it just, pardon the expression, ain't so. It just ain't so. And so healthy relationships begin with a healthy relationship with God, and that requires us to have a healthy, true, accurate concept and understanding and experience of God. And so as a person integrates that understanding of the truth of God into their consciousness, and as the person then becomes more saturated with their own authentic experience of God through prayer, through meditation, through seeking, through asking, through knocking on that door, through that deep knowing what the truth of God is, then that person begins to reflect that on into the relationships within themselves, you know. And as they have come to learn that relationship with God, then they begin to reflect that toward themselves, being forgiving, totally accepting, unconditionally loving, all of these qualities. Now they begin to actually allow themselves to be experiencing, because that's what the reality is of the God that wants to love you, okay, and is loving you. And so from then, we transfer it on into our relationships with others, of course, because we can't give away anything that we don't already have within ourselves, all right? And so we don't start basically by simply saying, you just need to be better. You just need to do it, effort, okay? Well, that's fine if we want to try and have that happen, but along the way and with it, you know, we have to understand that there's, you know, above and beyond just being more virtuous, putting effort into being it, we have to really start with the healing and transformation of our own relationship with ourselves. And the issues and the charges that we carry from our past that, you know, get in the way, and trying to be something more virtuous is really hard. It keeps bumping up against these blocks that we have and these charges. And so it becomes first about healing our past. And so relationships are really about taking responsibility for ourselves, all right? It's not about entering into a relationship and trying to fix or change the other. We said that essentially all that conveys to the other is that they're not okay and they don't get to be loved for who they are. That doesn't feel good. We wouldn't want that, okay? So it starts with finding ourselves, and that means finding our true selves, finding our God selves, finding our Christ selves, all right? Finding that which we're really reaching for, or we know to be the truth, but we're moving in that direction, okay? We may not be it all the time, but it's the light of the Christ that wants to shine through us. And so it's about finding that self in us that really is love, that self of us that really is forgiving, the true nature of us that is accepting of all, rather than starting out trying to find that something outside ourselves as a relationship and bring it in to loving ourselves unconditionally, accepting us unconditionally. We want somebody else outside us to do that oftentimes, and we have to first give it to ourselves. And then we're a powerful, powerful partner to be able to offer that to those who we're in relationship with as well. Now, prayer is a powerful tool, you know, that we can use to help ourselves along the way as well in our relationships. Never forget the power of prayer, because if you're having a difficult relationship with someone, the prayer is to simply ask God's help. Ask God's help to help you see what it is that you may need to work on, release, let go in terms of your past and your charges, and how it is that you can help love that person more. Just pray that God help that person, extend prayers of love, surround that person with love, as opposed to sending them, you know, or living in or taking a stand for how resentful or angry you are at that person for whatever, you know, because there's a thought atmosphere that we carry around, and people read that, people feel that, you know. Don't you all have an experience of being with a coworker and you know when the coworker doesn't like you, or you know when there's something between you that just needs to be cleared? We don't even know what it is until we actually talk about it, feel our way through it, and then it breaks up and is gone. And a lot of times it was never really anything that was meant to be there. It was misunderstanding. It's a beautiful thing when we communicate our way through and feel our way through. And so there are three important aspects that we talked about last week in relationship, and one is an aspect that says relationships are a creation. And you should know that, man, there are beautiful, wonderful, powerful relationships that exist out there in the world that you have created, okay? So they're not all, all this difficult stuff you got to work through. But sometimes there are moments when we do. And that's what makes it so powerful and meaningful, because we've brought a healthy understanding of how to be within the relationship, and that's what makes it so powerful. That's what allows it to mature and move forward and grow and broaden and deepen in love. So it's understanding that a relationship is a creation. Every one that you have can always be created better, more loving, more forgiving, more understanding. And just as it's said that through our thoughts and our ideas and our beliefs, we create our reality, that's a principle. So too, through our thoughts, our ideas, and our beliefs, we create our relationships, all right? It can be the thoughts and the ideas and the beliefs that we have about relationships. Some people have real negative beliefs about and ideas about relationships. Things like, boy, you can't be in them and be free. They don't last. Or little mantras that are going off that we're often unconscious of that really get in the way. Or we can have, thoughts, ideas, and beliefs about anything bump up against the thoughts, ideas, and beliefs of another person that we're in relationship with. And then if the ego comes in, the separate self, then we get into, well, now I need to make that person wrong and be right. This is a kind of little contest here about my thoughts, ideas, and beliefs versus their thoughts, ideas, and beliefs. You have to be careful that that ego doesn't begin to be the voice, as opposed to the Holy Spirit that's always working with understanding, always accepting wherever a person may be, always having that sense of mutual respect. And so that is that life, or relationships are a creation. The other thing we said is that, secondly, it's for learning, okay? Those who get close to us, they help bring up feelings that we oftentimes have buried in our lives. And so we really learn a great deal. We can learn, we can heal, we can grow, we can come to understand as a result of a relationship becoming close. How do you think that Solomon became so wise? I mean, he had 700 wives and 300 concubines. I mean, he had to learn a lot through that. Don't you think? So, inside our relationships, every kind of feeling can be felt. Every kind of feeling can be felt inside of a relationship as you allow it to get close. And it must be felt, you see? They are the gurus that tell us about ourselves. And, there are good and wonderful feelings of love and connection and oneness and so forth and joy that we have, but we can have other feelings too that come up that we have to process, which are fear and anger and jealousy and resentment and judgment and loneliness or sadness and what have you. And so rather than project them out onto the other person saying, oh, they're making me feel this, or pushing them away and not wanting to feel at all, it's important to be with the feelings. It's important to dialogue with them and ask the feelings, what is the thought that I have behind this that is causing me to feel inside? Because it's my thought or feeling that I've drifted into that has given me this feeling. I've somehow agreed to something about myself that doesn't feel good. And so it's for me to, and so whatever is this feeling that is attempting to reveal itself to me. So there are many things to learn. And then the third thing we said, that relationships are for healing, and that we get to heal our past, and that the past is all we know, and that all of these thoughts, ideas, and beliefs that we have basically are from the past, because everything is the past, isn't it? Up until this moment just now, right? And now everything's the past until this moment right now. It's all the past that I'm bringing up. And it's only, as we say, in the moment that we really experience God, because that's where you have to be. But by noticing our charges, our issues, our inner feelings, our hurts, our pains, that as they come up, we can heal our past. Current day psychology teaches us this. And at the Oneness University in India, they had, I've been there 5 times, and it's about becoming one with humanity, one with God. And many of their teachings are about clearing the past, very similar. And in their sessions and dynamics. And they make the point that we're all different, we're all unique. There are no two people the same, okay? And there are 4 areas that basically contribute to the makeup of who you are, because our pasts are all different, and our consciousness, our inner world. And so the 4 things that they mention, and of course, in India, they believe in reincarnation, so that's a common belief there in India. So one area that they start off with is they say your past life vasanas, which means your charges from past lives, are carried into this life. There are certain things that you haven't healed that are issues, and they're being brought forth just as life is a school each time. And you're having the opportunity now to heal that and to move from wherever, which is separate, on into oneness and love. And the second factor that they say contributes to your uniqueness and who you are and your experience of life is the 4 stages of birth. They refer to it as the 4 baskets, and they break it into the first 3 months, the second 3 months, the third 3 months, and the birth experience. That what's happening in each one of those as you go along create molding and shaping you, that you are sensitive in those moments, you are actually having a consciousness, and you're sensitive to the mental, emotional states of your mother, you're taking on thoughts, feeling emotions, making decisions even about life and the experience itself. Like coming down the birth canal is potential for, as a child, in the consciousness to say, well, God, my gosh, life is hard. This is a struggle, you know, and that becomes a mantra, or can. We're not saying for sure, but we're just saying many things that we gather as a soul in all the experiences we have in this eternal life we're living. So those are 2 things: past life charges, 4 stages of birth, and the third they say is decisions from childhood. The fourth is conditioning, our conditioning, which continues right on up through all of life. Conditioning is the way the world is molding and shaping us through all of its experiences, all the things that are coming in. And so all of these things have to do with our past. And the thing for us to know is that love heals all. Love is the most powerful force in the universe. God is love. Love is your true nature, you see. So love heals all. And we help each other through love, through moving into the energies of love. We heal each other through love. We transform each other and ourselves through love. And of those 4 factors, the third one was, you know, decisions from childhood. Decisions from childhood. And they make the point that basically before you reach the age 7, you have had many experiences and made many decisions, and decisions which you weren't equipped to make. And so they may have been erroneous and you needed help in making them. But again, love heals all. Love takes you through some of those decisions. I'm going to give you an example. Our little daughter, Star, when she was 6 months old, she's now 32, something like that, and when she was 6 months old, she got the chicken pox. And from that time on, when the chicken pox left, she had fevers. And it just kept getting these fevers. And the doctor would give antibiotics, and when the antibiotics were off and done, the fevers returned. And she would get worse. She had some pain, something going on. She was crying all the time. Like I say, in pain. She didn't eat. Wasn't taking fluids either, anything. And so this went on from the time she was 6 months old, and had gotten rid of chickenpox, all the way up to the time she was 1.5 years. It was a full 12 months that we went to doctors. My every day off was a trip to another specialist or doctor and trying to figure this out. And so they put her through all kinds of procedures to determine that. And because she wasn't taking anything in, when they went to take a urine sample, you know, they sent this tube down through and into the bladder. And Diane, my wife, had to hold her down. And she's screaming, and they had to do it 3 times because she had so little in her, they couldn't find any urine to extract to test. So then another time she was held down by Diane when they took a spinal tap, because they were groping everywhere to find what was wrong with this little girl and what was causing her to scream and cry. And so finally, they had checked her ears previous along the way, but they finally came up with some instrument that was stronger or better, I don't know, but they finally saw that, man, she had impacted ears or something way in. So they had a procedure where they put tubes in her. And she had, at this point, she was like, almost a year and a half, and she had started walking and then stopped walking because she couldn't even gravitate. She had lost her equilibrium. And so in the morning they had the procedure. In the afternoon, she could walk. It was like a miracle. We were so grateful. But her personality from that point was affected. You couldn't touch her. She didn't want to be held. If you had to change a diaper, put her pajamas on, change her clothes, it was a battle. It was kicking and screaming and fighting, and you were exhausted every time. At night, she would roll and thrash in the crib, even though she was no longer in pain. It was just the conditioning. She didn't get along with other little kids. She had this kind of mean streak. She had this cold and angry look in her eyes. As such a little girl, it was so painful to see. There were moments in which we would be sitting in the front room, and she would look up and at Diane and have that look in her eyes, this mean look, and come running at her with fists and start beating her lap. And Diane would just break her heart, she'd cry. It was painful. And so at first we didn't know what it was, and then I reasoned that, Diane, you were the one that was holding her down all those times. You know, the one that she had trusted. He felt betrayed. And even as a little child of a year and a half and 2 was feeling this. And that anger somehow was even, you know, the way she played with other kids. There was a mean streak in her. And it even concerned doctors. We just decided to love her and to love her back to life. And that we did. No matter what she did, we loved her. Yes, she would do some of these things, but we would explain, calm voice, love her, love her. And we loved her back to hold us. And Diane was sharing how when she went to the teacher conference when Star was in kindergarten, and the teacher was just raving about all these wonderful things about Star. And she just started crying, as you can imagine, because it had taken a while to get Star to finding who she was, but love took her there. Love took her there. She's a nurse today, a wonderful, precious gal. She was a gem all through life, but she had that event that could have turned, and she could have been mean and angry for her whole life, but love took her past it. So love is very important. We're all different, yet we're all the same. We all have healing to do on our way to reaching love. And so we all see through a different filter, you know, and we view the world through the unique filter of our age, our race, our gender, our ethnic background, our religion, our sibling position, our social class, our family history, and much more. And so if we can learn to basically respect this concept that we all have a different filter, we can just understand, you know, we're all just finding our way to love. And so let the river of love flow and heal and set us free. God bless you all.
We invite you to be with us again next Sunday. At Unity, we believe that God's presence of love and goodness is everywhere, and that life is meant to be good. You can find out more about Unity and our teachings at unityhouston.org.